2 presents Hancock and Kelley.
Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to Hancock and Kelley on Fox 2, where we take on the top issues of the week. On the right, John Hancock.
Good morning.
On the left, Michael Kelley.
Happy Sunday.
I'm Andy Banker. On the agenda this morning, St. Louis's reckless driving crisis. A year ago, it cost a young visitor her legs. Now it's cost 2 visitors their lives. There's a lot of political finger pointing after a deadly mass shooting at the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory parade and rally in Kansas City. President Biden lashes out at Russian President Vladimir Putin. And for former U.S. President Donald Trump, he's got words for him too. And our quote of the week brings us warm thoughts. Spring training is here, and this quote will surely get you fired up about something that unites us all, baseball in St. Louis. Also, initiative petition reform in the Missouri Legislature. Is it about more than keeping abortion illegal? Valentine's Day week brings us something called Valentines Law, named after a St. Louis County police officer who died in the line of duty. And courtroom drama in the Georgia election interference case, not centered on Donald Trump, but on the love life of District Attorney Fani Willis. We begin with a mother and daughter from Chicago killed by an alleged reckless driver in downtown St. Louis as they were crossing a street Tuesday night. The mayor called out the city's Board of Aldermen.
My heart goes out to the family involved in this incident, but this also renews our call for more street safety initiatives that are currently being installed at the Board of Aldermen.
The mother and daughter had just been to the Drake concert at Enterprise Center. The tragedy comes a year after a teenage girl from Tennessee in town for a volleyball tournament lost her legs after being hit by a vehicle as she was walking in downtown St. Louis. An alleged reckless driver in that case, too. Authorities blame that tragedy and this one on reckless driving. It has been rampant and gone unaddressed in the city of St. Louis for years. Where do you start here, John Hancock?
Enforce the law. This is not a new problem. People have been driving like fools in St. Louis for years now. You've got things as simple as running stoplights, which you can't go downtown and not see people run stoplights. If you spend any time at all down there, they're breaking windows out of businesses up and down the streets, and they're not dealing with these folks. These so-called low-level crimes, well, here they killed a couple of people. Guy driving like a fool in front of the police department. Think about that. If you're so emboldened as a criminal that you're going to drive 70 miles an hour down the street, across the street from the police headquarters, there's a problem. And the problem is we've got to enforce these lower laws. Otherwise, people are going to keep dying out there.
What about the mayor's safety initiative? She says the Board of Aldermen is bogging it down, but it focuses on things like red light cameras, widening sidewalks, roundabouts for traffic, traffic calming. Is that the answer?
It's some peripheral fixes to a problem she helped create, which was defunding the police. John hit the key point on the head there where he said this was right in front of the police department. For the better part of 2 years, the mayor, the police chief, whenever we get to see him, has been telling us that crime has been going down and that everything about St. Louis is just a perception problem. Well, your perception is a reality when this is happening right in front of your own police department, a 10-story building that apparently 1,000 cops work in every day. Look, I lived right there. I have an office downtown. There are no police in downtown St. Louis. We can pass all the bills we want. If we're not going to enforce policing, this is the consequence of what we're going to have.
Perhaps they're just misunderstood when they say crime's going down. Because crime's going down all over the city. It's going down over here. It's going down over there. Look, we've got a problem. We need to be honest about it.
And we know what works, right? More police on the street and enforcing the laws?
Right. And look,
why not just go there?
Exactly. It's particularly in downtown St. Louis, the one place that is supposed to be attracting people to this region. We've got the Cardinals season going on, going to happen, the Blues season, the soccer season. Now's the time to be flooding downtown rather than gaslighting us, telling us, oh, it's all a bunch of nonsense, it's going down.
The issue has done something we rarely see at the state capitol in Jefferson City. It has Democrats and Republicans actually working together. Democrat Senator Tracy McCreary of Olivet, along with Republicans Justin Sparks of Wildwood and Nick Schroer of St. Charles County, are sponsoring something called Valentines Law. It has heavy support from police. It creates felony offense for knowingly fleeing police when police are trying to stop a vehicle. It's named for St. Louis County Police Officer Tony Valentine, who was killed in the line of duty December of 2021 in North County when a fleeing driver crashed into his unmarked police vehicle. Michael, Valentine's Law carries a mandatory prison sentence of at least a year, no probation. up to 30 years, even life if it results in someone's death.
Well, I think it's a great bill that should get passed, and unfortunately, if this is a consequence of not enforcing the law, you allow lawlessness to permeate, you can put all these laws on the book that you want. If we're not going to hold these criminals responsible, this is what we're ultimately going to get. Great piece of bipartisan legislation. Let's hope it passes.
St. Louis County Police, not the city, St. Louis County last year reportedly had 2,700 incidents of drivers fleeing officers.
Well, that's because in St. Louis County, the police are pursuing the criminals. You don't have to worry about Valentines Law if the police aren't going to chase anybody. So, you know, I think this is common sense law. It's good to have another level of felony on the book so that you could throw that book at these criminals that are out there committing crimes. The use of a car is armed criminal action if you're using it like that. It's no different than wielding a gun and shooting a gun at somebody.
How meaningful is it that in Jefferson City we have Democrats and Republicans co-sponsoring something from the St. Louis region? I mean, it seems like there's so much dysfunction there. We're going to get into that.
Well, February 29th comes around every 4 years, Andy. I mean, you know, it happens.
Well, and Jefferson City understands that 40% of the tax revenue for the entire state comes from this region. If we don't find a way to get a handle on crime, we're going to continue to see a deterioration of population and a loss of revenue.
Not everything is going swimmingly, however, at the Missouri Capitol. Republican state lawmakers are trying to thwart a petition drive underway in Missouri to enshrine abortion rights in the state constitution. Senate Democrats filibustered the issue to block a Republican bill designed to change the process. Volunteers are right now gathering signatures to put abortion rights on the Missouri ballot in November. Currently, only a simple majority is needed for it to become law. A new Republican bill would not just require a majority statewide, but also a majority in at least 5 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. Fair or unfair, and why, John?
Well, I think the rationale makes some sense. There ought to be a higher standard to amend a constitution than there is to pass a law. Laws the legislature can change, constitution only the voters can change. The U.S. Constitution requires a supermajority to pass. You know, we've just passed this marijuana legalization a couple of years ago with 53% of the vote, something like that. And it now takes up 20% of the state constitution. Should there be a higher standard? Now, I don't know if the congressional district's majority, if that's the right way to construct it, but I think principally having a higher standard to amend the Constitution makes sense.
Would this even be being talked about if it weren't for the abortion issue?
No, it wouldn't be. And at the end of the day, the Republicans who talk a good game about liberty and wanting your voice to be heard don't want democracy to take place, and that's what this is. The reality is John's right. The laws that are being passed and being put into the Constitution are ridiculous in size. It's because the legislature is not listening to their voters. They're out there passing bills that say you can't have an abortion even in cases of rape and incest. So the voters only have this redress, and as a result, what do they want to do? They want to stop democracy yet again, the Republicans.
It was a short work week for Missouri lawmakers. They took most of it off to celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs' back-to-back Super Bowl victories. Gun violence cut short the fun. That's not the right video there. The victory parade and rally in Kansas City was Wednesday. Authorities say gunfire erupted in a dispute among groups of juveniles. We'll talk about Fonnie Willis later. Fans heroically subdued and detained at least one suspect. 22 people were shot. 43-year-old mega Chiefs fan Lisa Lopez Galvin, a wife and mother of 2, was killed. 2 others were critically wounded. At least half of the victims were children under the age of 16. 2 suspects have been charged in juvenile court with weapons violations and resisting arrest. Additional charges are anticipated. Democrat Congresswoman Cori Bush took to the floor of the House of Representatives in Washington to blast Republicans in Missouri for lax gun laws. But Michael, St. Louis and Kansas City already have gun bans for juveniles on the books.
Right, but you have to be able to enforce them. And the reality is there is state law that juveniles can carry guns open. Look, this was the most American Super Bowl ever, right? We had the West Coast versus the heart of the Midwest. We had Taylor Swift. We had the Chiefs, the most bet game, the most watched people. And we topped it off with the most American thing, a mass shooting. This is the world we live in right now. And with the state that we're from empowers people and make sure that guns are easy for everyone to access. It's just a sad story. We'll have this same conversation in 2 weeks.
Isn't the prevalence of guns something that needs to be addressed?
Yeah.
Aren't there just way too many out there?
There's way too many illegal guns out there. which is what this was. Kids, gang members carrying around firearms in the middle of a crowd of 800,000 people. And, you know, nobody wants to talk about it, but these urban gangs across this country are networked. They are highly organized. They've got a central command and control that are adults, and they're using juveniles to go out and commit crimes, carjackings, robberies, and so forth. They're arming these kids. They're shipping guns across the country in a very coordinated effort. If we want to get serious about this kind of crime, we need to treat these urban gangs and their network like an organized crime network, which it is. When we went after the mob back in the 1970s, we made a real difference. We need to be pursuing these gangs in the same fashion.
Up next, President Biden blasts Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin after the suspicious death of one of Putin's biggest foes inside of Russia. And later, amid another tough legal week for former President Trump, one of his prosecutors is at the center of attention, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.